Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here today. Got a great show lined up, but first let's get our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. High of 81, low of 71. Got a little 10-degree movement. There's not a lot of movement. It's going to be warm. They're calling some rain coming a little bit today, maybe scattered on through the rest of the week. And it's going to be, we really need some rain. It's dry all over, so it'll be some welcome rain. I hope it don't rain out it's not going to rain out my retirement party because it's going to be indoors, but hopefully we'll get some rain for then and get it on out of here. Water temperature is at 74 degrees. River readings, the Apalachicola Bluntstown at a 5.6. I'm not going to say the river's right, but it is. The Choctawhatchee at Caryville at 5.3. Both of them in really good shape. So if you get a chance to do some river fishing, we got a full moon. Talked about this yesterday. Got a full moon coming up this weekend, folks. The next couple of days, I can promise you, I will guarantee you, if you go there and get some crickets and worms, like we talked about yesterday with sleds, you will catch some fish going into full moon in May. I can promise you. This is probably one of the most busiest weeks of my life, and I'm wrapping up school with my teaching with my seniors. Got this retirement party and so much going on. I will not be able to fish this week, but I promise you next year on the full moon in May, I think I may just camp out the whole week at the river. Jeff, can you do the show for the whole week? And Jeff will do the show, he said, and I'll be camping on the river. All right. All right, now the tide chart, let's see now. We brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn, Funeral Home and Cemetery. We just having a low tide. Got some neap tides next couple of days. On the weekend, though, kicking back in on the weekend. Some good tides coming up with that full moon. Marine forecast, south-southeast at about 5 to 10. That takes care of our weather. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So glad you're with us this morning. Let's get started on some pictures. We'll get some great pictures sent in by your viewers, and just shows all the things that goes on here in the Panhandle. How about the Ken Paramore? I call this the Ken Paramore Fishing Company. They got an ice chest full of red snapper. I know they had a good time there. All right, let's go on to the next one. We got this is Winston Chester said fishing time today was between 9:30 and 11:30. So I went catfishing and didn't get about a 10:40 right there in the middle of time. Caught 4 cats in 35 minutes. Thanks, Winston. Good job there. Good job, William Jones. This is interesting. This is from a friend of mine, and she's not an outdoorsman, but she loves animals and loves birds and all this. But read this story. Diane Montague. Last night we were walking by our martin house and noticed a large snake was in the house feasting on baby martins. It was too late to do anything last night, but this morning Doug killed the 2 white oak snakes that had taken up residence in the martin house. I don't know how they got up that 12-foot pole. And Diane, she was, like I say, she's not a big hunter or fisherman, but she loves the birds and animals and all that. And you know, that's the decision you make. You got those snakes up there eating all the little baby martins, or you can take care of it. And Doug, her husband Doug, took care of it. That's interesting, and I would have done the same thing, I think, Diane. But you notice how that martin house is set up. A lot of folks, including myself sometimes, on a martin house, when you put it up like that, I'm not a bird expert, but I slept in Holiday Inn Select last weekend, and I know that what happened, if you can't have any bushes, anything around that pole, because a snake will get in there. Ironically, in this picture, a snake got in there anyway. So that's interesting. But these people know a lot about martins. They'll tell you to keep everything away from that pole. And a lot of people have bushes around it, so you got to keep it cleared out. Okay, move on to the next picture. How about cobia season still ain't over, folks. I mean, they're still coming in. This is Guy Martin Ward out on the pier. You see, good, nice cobia right there. Okay, again, another cobia. This is a good fisherman right here. This is Ernie Cabot. Ernie, hard fisherman. He just gets out there and gets after it. He fishes hard and is a good fisherman. Good job, Ernie. Okay, how about Nick Tramontano, Mike Petty, and David Meadows on a good red snapper fishing trip. Good job, Nick. Nick's a good outdoorsman. Becky and Joe Eddie went floundering, but it looks like they went crabbing this weekend, and that's a good mess of crab, Florida blue crabs right there. Only got 1 flounder, but man, they sure did good on the crab. Chris Clark, been on here quite a bit. Chris, a nice speckled trout there. Good job, Chris. Again, William Jones up there in Alpha got this nice catfish right here, right there at the river. You see where he got it. This is Jack Crevalle, caught by Bobby Davis, and Bobby said he caught it on the beach. He had a light tackle, and he fought this thing about 20 minutes. And this Jack Crevalle almost spooled him. And those jacks, you know, they can fight. So catching that thing on light tackle, I know you enjoyed that. Really good job there, Bobby. All right, I want to let you read this one. Hey, Winston, this cobia swam up to our boat while we were offshore fishing out of Destin. I dropped a live cigar minnow in front of him, and we were off to the races. It was great fun and great eating. Reed Smith, okay? Here's a picture of it right there. Good job, good picture, and thank you for sharing that with us, Reed. Nice one. And you know, they'll do that sometimes. Those cobias swim right there to you. Okay? LaVon, I guess since she owns her shop, she can just go ahead and skip work. She just, she and Bob just skipped work the other day and went fishing. Okay, now you see she got a little Creek Life, that Howard Creek T-shirt, and the last 3 to 4 weeks, the last couple of weeks, they have really caught a lot of fish down there. Good job, LaVon. Okay, this is a picture here coming out of Carabel. It's Captain Scott Lukes, his son right here, and they caught some nice snapper out of Carabel. Good picture right there. One of Tom Gurley's pictures from the state park. That's not Tom in the picture. Now he took the picture. This big heron had a mud bug for lunch. But when you look at a quality photographs and people don't know what they're doing, you look at the clarity, the contrast, and the location of all of it. Good job, Tom Gurley, as always. A couple more real quick. Ryan Mason. Ryan's from Arnold, graduated from Arnold, and that wade fishing, and we talk about how much fun wade fishing is, that is a great picture right there. Ryan, good trout right there. And Drew Benton, now, he finished 27th now in the Toledo Bend tournament, but that was still a great finish because he moved up a lot, and he finished anywhere in that area with those guys, and that was at Toledo Bend. But what I want you to notice is that huge spoon that he was fishing with. Now, you know, he's fishing with the big boys now. And to see, that's interesting. Well, lately we've talked about where these bass fishermen have really gone to some really big bait, oversized baits, and that's a great example of right there. So keep that in mind. And what they're doing, that fashion and a trend is like the fishing trend is like a fashion in clothes. It changes with fishing lures. If it didn't, we'd still be fishing those old James Hedden lures from first day. So anyway, I got real. Let's see. Let me see. Okay. I think that's enough right now. I got several more. I do want to show. Let me hold on, Jeff. I got one more right here. I like this one. Jeff Johnston, one of our viewers. Jeff Johnston, teaching his youngest daughter how to shoot on a Sunday afternoon. Now, is that not a great thing to do on the weekends and all? If you, to me, that's a classic picture of a dad and daughter going down on Sunday afternoon, safely learning how to shoot and being comfortable with it. And that's, I wish a lot more parents would do stuff like that. Instead of them doing this, how about them doing that? Okay? We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, I want to show you one more. This is interesting to me. This is fascinating that this is a text. Now, I'm going to show this off my phone on my iPad, but I want you to read along with me because this is really good now. Hey, Coach Chester, thank you for the info about catching reds around docks that you gave this past week. I don't remember which day. I caught 3 legal-sized reds. I only kept one, and several smaller reds and a trout. I was fishing live shrimp around docks just north of the McKenzie boat ramp Saturday morning. Signed Dan Henry from Chipley, and there's one right there. That's the one he kept right there, and that. We're talking about. A lot of times we'll give these things like these fishing reports and all, and I know a lot of people is just sort of goes over the head, but and we don't hit it 100%. But I promise you, I'll give you my word. All the information I give you is truthful information. I'm not making stuff up. It's either coming from, most of it comes from people like y'all. And this is information about dock fishing. It came from a viewer. I say he and his brother went out and they fish a lot. They fish 4 to 5 days a week and they love it. They're retired and get to do some serious fishing. He called me and said, Coach, these redfish around the docks up there, if you want to tell some of the viewers. And I pass it on to you. There's a classic case. So everybody, it just helps everybody. It's a win-win situation, and everybody's happy, except the redfish, it was called, I guess. But anyway, it is a good situation. So when I give a Friday fishing report, I just don't pull it out of the sky. Sometimes you see these fishing reports from other places, they just, that's what they tried to do this time last year. So, but ours, I'm very proud of our fishing report. Okay, I got I got an email here from Lily Newsom. She and her husband, I had them on the show. They're the oystering couple that they do oystering for a living. Lily's generation's been doing it for a couple of generations. So she stayed in contact with me since she's come on the show, and she and her husband working hard. Those oyster people work really hard, and she'll tell me what's going on out in the bay, send me some pictures going on, and she was talking. She sent me this email here last night. And she's talking about seeing a lot of blue catfish under the boat. And she said, question, I need a market for blue catfish. I read that they are considered green. If a fish is considered green, that means there's an abundance of those, okay? So she's checked up on it, done some research on it. And she said, when we cull back in the water, they feed under our boat. They're like vacuums, they gobble up everything. I throw the little fish back to the stern to give them a chance. Little things like that, what smart conservationist people do that have a love for the outdoors. She wants to give those little fish a chance. So she knows if she calls it under the boat, those blue catfish are going to eat everything. So she throws off the stern. Good job, Lily. But anyway, he goes on and talks about she's trying to find some, if they could catch them with a net or something, if that's legal, and find a market for them, because she feels like maybe they're non-native. That she did some research on it up in the New England area. They're just sort of taking over, like we have the lionfish here. Some of the bluefish or blue catfish are doing some of that up there. So that's interesting. And if you know anything about it, if you run across a lot of that too, it'd be interesting to find out. There's always a market for something like that for chum. You can catch those and chum. People are always looking for chum. Fishermen love chum, and it's hard to get chum now. It used to be pretty prevalent, but a lot of restrictions have been put on the companies and all. I know we had a sponsor in early years of our show, and it was a chum company, and they basically went out of the chum business. They didn't go out of business, but just be aware of that, and if you know much about the blue catfish doing that, let me know, and I'll pass it on to her. Another thing too, this past weekend over in Lake Talquin. Again, this is the second time now this has happened within a month or so, where on a late Saturday night, and this vehicle just kept going down the boat ramp and ran down the boat ramp. It was a co-landing road that's on the Leon County side of Lake Talquin, and 3 people drowned. I had 4 people. One person got out and gave him CPR and to save that one's life, but the rest of them drowned. Remember, we had one not too long ago up here in I believe it was Compass Lake, that couple that ran off into the boat ramp again on a Saturday night. A lot of times they're a contributing factor to it, but ironically you have that close. So these boat ramps aren't mean to go head first into them. We back the boats into them. So make sure your loved ones and all know that, and just especially a lot of times y'all come in late on Saturday night, and sometimes on these isolated boat ramps, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes there's some riffraff out there up to no good. So be careful, and just don't. When I read that again, I thought about, that's what all these boat ramps are for. They're running around and drinking and partying and all that kind of stuff, but they do that. So just be careful of these boat ramps and be safe at them, okay? I was looking, we're talking about floundering. Not floundering gigging now, but flounder fishermen. I always think of one of my idols in my early years of fishing was a guy named Howard Barnes. When I first moved down here, Mr. Barnes, who's from over here in Highland Park, he loved to go out by himself and fish, and he would take people with him on occasion, but he fished by himself almost on a daily basis. And when he retired from the paper mill, he would go down to Crooked Island Sound and by himself and be the only boat out there and fish for flounder. And he was good. He wasn't good, he was real good. He always caught flounder. And I hung around him. I was friends. His oldest son, he had David, Ricky, and Kenny. And Kenny plays a little bit of pro baseball and played at Rutherford and all, but David and I did a lot of outdoor stuff when I first moved here, and got to know his dad. So I learned some of his dad's secrets. He's willing to, after he got to know me and all, tell me some of the things. And he was such a good flounder fisherman. And what he did, the number one thing he did in flounder fishing was to fish slow. And where most of us, want to bring it in, That's the one thing he said, just slow down. And we'd fish out there, and folks, he was so good at it. And a lot of times I'd be out in a boat and come up and see him and go there and talk to him, and he wouldn't show me what he had most of the time, but I knew he had a lot of flounder. He wanted this one spot, and that spot still holds flounder. But anyway, with that being said, I've got some notes and all on catching flounder. I was going to share some of these information with you from different captains across the Southeast that live on the water, mainly fish for flounder, and they're guides and take people flounder fishing. And I was reading about their tips and all, so I wrote them down last night, and I'm going to pass them on to you. So let me go ahead and let's go and take our break now, and I'm going to come back and give you these flounder tips, okay? Welcome back. Glad you're with us. Look at our fishing game time today, brought to us by Barron's Barbecue Shrimp Marinade Sauce, and it's really good stuff. Trust me on this. I've tried it and I love it. Okay, time 9:41, 11:41 this morning. Tonight, 10:02 to 12:02. Let's take a look at this picture here. Love having pictures with kids and fish. And okay, Tyler Bullock loves to eat him some fish. Winston Chester, notice what he caught them on. Fish bites bait. Kim Weathers Bullock did help. Thank you, Tony, for sending that. Look at those fish. And you know, we haven't talked a lot about fish bites and working on catfish, but got to work because of the smell of it. So good job, and thanks for sharing that. Good job, Tyler. I bet you can catch more fish than your daddy. All right. Also, I wanted to. I had this situation here I read about. This was interesting. I'm not going to show it to you on the screen, but I am going to read about talking about accidents in boating. This was Sunday afternoon. This guy right here, we put it in on Panama City Fishing. Tyler did. Okay, pulled 2 guys out of the Gulf this evening after their boat had capsized this afternoon. They had been in the water for around 5 hours before we saw them and were able to get them, and they told us of the numerous boats that had driven past them and didn't notice. So close they even heard one vessel conversation as they rode by. This is local now. I know after a long day of fishing, the rides in are usually pretty laid back, but lesson learned, always keep an eye out. You never know who might be in need of help. Their boat sank, their boat capsized, and they were in the water 5 hours right outside the pass here, and people were going by them. And again, folks, it's like driving in 5 o'clock traffic when you're in a boat and all, especially as you get around other people and everything. You just got to go left or right, just constantly searching. Even as a passenger coming in on a boat as big as Billy Archer's, I'm always looking out in the distance in case somebody, I don't know, I guess in case somebody turn over. But it does happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but so be aware of that, okay? All right, let's get these floundering tips real quick so we can get them finished. These are tips from different captains in different places. We're going to start off in Fairhope, Alabama. This captain over here, the question was, how do you catch flounder? What's your best tip? And his best tip was to use light tackle, a 1/4 ounce jig head, okay? And that's light tackle. And again, he loves the ledges and the drop-offs. And that last, I showed you some pictures last year, some flounder I caught off of Cape San Blas. It was right there where the ledge drops off, and those flounder love. Remember, they feed by ambushing. They ambush their prey. They sit there and wait for them to come by and then go after it. And they don't get aggressive after it. They just come after when they come by. All right, this captain out of Atlantic Beach, Florida. This is over by Jacksonville. Interesting enough, he does some wade fishing too with his customers, and he loves to track them. And I started reading about him, and the tracks, when they move around, they'll move around, and they'll move to a hole, and he can actually track them and catch them in that hole. That was an interesting take. All right, here's one from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. All these are fishing villages now. He fishes, now this is interesting, from his boat he says half of the flounder that he catches, he'll catch within a rod distance of his boat. And he says what has happened over the years, he's learned that the flounder a lot of time will follow the bait in, and they go slow now, and they just haven't made up their mind, and then you pull it up, and the flounder will sort of just sit there and wait for something else to come by. And a lot of times, so he'll stop every now and then and fish right up underneath the boat, and he says half the flounder he catches are like that. Now, that's a great tip. I really never thought about that, but it makes a lot of sense, and it's coming from a captain who makes a living catching flounder. All right, this one coming from Brunswick, Georgia, a captain up there. And this is good, I've seen this several times. The creeks, where the creeks run into the creek runoffs, and over there in Brunswick and Savannah area, they got a lot of creeks feeding into to the bays and bayous. He loves fishing on a falling tide. Okay, so that where the creek is running out on a falling tide, you know, they're going to be sitting there ambushing. That makes a lot of sense right there. And he also, I underlined this. He said, keep moving. You know, they're not in that area. Go to the other area. Don't just sit there and then waste time. Keep moving. All right, here's a captain over here in Mississippi. And he brought up a good point. No, he said, even if it's a small, preferably a small area, know everything about the area you fish. And you know it by just bumping around and just getting the feel of it and knowing where the drops are. I know we have a lot of electronics and all, but these old timers and all, they know the area. So it's more important that you learn one area to fish and know it real well instead of running around all over about 20 different places during the fishing trip and just fishing real quick and moving on. So his idea was just know the area. Once you learn this area, then move on to another area next fishing trip or whatever, but just work that one area and know it well. That makes a lot of sense right there. One guy likes to, right here, this is coming from South Carolina. He loves live bait. And if he can't, and he likes to catch live bait on low tides where the creek's coming out. South Carolina has the same kind of situation that the lower part of Georgia does as far as the fishing geography and all. And this is interesting. And if he does use artificial, he likes a white color with a pink head. That's the same color Mr. Howard Barnes used. Okay, I love that. There's a tip from Panhandle. I got a cousin who lives at Panhandle. Bump trolling for flounder. Okay, this is really good. He gets with the current and just goes with the current and just bump trolls. And he's had good luck with that. And one more from Louisiana. This captain here, he just keep the bait moving, but move it slowly. So, you know, a lot of these are like 9 different captains. I'm passing on to you what Mr. Howard Barnes did, and so that's a little clinic on how to catch flounder, and flounder fishing is about to get hot. And we'll talk later on about gigging them at night and all, but catching them is easy to do, and it's fun to do, and they're starting to bite now, and they'll bite all during the summer. The flounder, you know, they're born with 2 eyes on one eye on each side. Then of course that eye migrates as they get a little bit older. And again, they camouflage themselves in the ambush. So send us some flounder pictures and we'll be sharing them. Okay. Got to start wrapping things up. Had a good show today. We got some guests coming the rest of the week. I like to mix up the shows like a guest yesterday, and sometimes I just run my mouth the whole show here and share the pictures with you, and then I'll do some other stuff too. But today's over with. So thank y'all for watching the show. Do something good for your fellow man, and you have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.